Hey everybody, welcome back into the Lettermen Lounge. It is Lettermen Live. It is brought to you by Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. This is a fun, casual conversation about the Ohio State Buckeyes, the Rose Bowl champions. It's great to be back here after a week in California. Brought the Ohio weather out there with us, and the Buckeyes made the most of it, 48-45. A thrilling win over Utah. Going to break that down and so much more. Great to be back with you guys. It's Justin Zwick, Cardale Jones in the house, Bobby Carpenter, and Spencer Holbrook. In for Berm, who was in for me last week. And
did a wonderful job, by the way.
Did the best possible job that he could. It's always dangerous for me to leave and then just let the whole show go off the rails.
You just never know.
And I think it happened. But kudos to me, Bob. I know that you're very curious. My score prediction was 51-45 for that game. So my season was a success. I just nailed it from start to finish.
That's good. I mean, as long as you get the last one close, then that's all that matters, right? I guess. I mean, you know what? That's fine. It's all good. I mean, sit here, gloat. You had a lot of other ones that were big scores early.
Big scores.
Big scores.
Big scores.
You
lured
me.
Nothing.
You lured me down.
Oh, we all followed along.
100%.
Yeah.
There's the gateway drug. Oh, it feels so good. Calling him, hey, 55-10.
Done as a blowout. Let's do it.
Hey, that guy got a point.
Austin said so.
But I didn't call a blowout. I just called the shootout, and Ohio State got the best of it. What did you guys think on Saturday?
So one of the things I looked at when looking at this game, I'm like, if Ohio State, the defense comes to play, and they can hold them to like less than 110, 120 yards rushing, like you'll feel good about this game. You'll be able to watch it and be comfortable because I didn't think their defense would be able to slow down this offense. Like if not, there's a good chance Ohio State still wins the game, but it's not going to be an enjoyable experience. I did not fathom the fact that Ohio State would struggle offensively to start the game. And then you're down 35-21. You're like, okay, you get the ball to start the second half. You can steal this possession, get close. Maybe you get a stop. And I kept in my mission, like it's the same thing with the Michigan game. Like if you can just get a score and steal a stop, get a possession, you get the lead. Maybe you can start dictate tempo a little bit. And then CJ comes out and throws that interception to Julian Fleming. Like, oh no, left it low and inside on the fade. Like, what are we doing?
Good, yeah.
And thankfully, you get a little bit of luck. You get the muffed punt. Things kind of turn a little bit, and you feel like the momentum started swinging. The defensive performance in the second half, I think, outside of the offense and Jackson and how well he played, and all the young receivers, like you knew they were going to play well, just to what extent. But really, like I was very impressed. When you give up 35 points in the first half and you were literally beat down, they ran a quarterback sneak. It looked like something out of Madden when you build a player that's like not real, that you can't tackle. He's just stumbling around. Dudes are bouncing
Takes
off
the first hit and just kind of almost falls down but doesn't towards the sideline.
Mel Tucker used to do something. There was a play that we had something similar to that I played at Ohio State, and he literally had one of the GAs tag it in worst play of all time. Like worst, like that's something you're putting in there. Like when they run a quarterback sneak and score like a 45-yard touchdown. That's stuff that happens in Little League. That's stuff when I was playing quarterback back in junior high. We'd sneak it on 4th and 1. I'd miss a tackle and take it 40 yards. Yeah. It doesn't happen in real life. Not in the college football game.
Not in the Rose Bowl.
Sure as heck not in the Rose Bowl. But able to take all that in, and then come out, hold them to a field goal, and then a touchdown in the 2 ensuing quarters. And I don't think anybody saw that happening, and we can get into this speech by DeMario McCall. I mean, Vince Lombardi, Tim Tebow, whatever the heck he win one for the Gipper, Newt Rockne. I don't know what he said in there. I wish he would have said it before the game, and then I would have felt more comfortable drinking and celebrating, as I'm watching it. But they got it done, man. They got it done. And one other two guys I'd like to talk a little bit about quickly. Court Williams, I thought, stepped up and played really well on defense. Jailhouse, dude. He's big physical guy. He's been battling injuries. They had some coverage things they're going to have to get cleaned up. But the more he's played, the better he's got. And that's what happens with young players. The more they play, the better they get. And then a guy who was beaten down. He's
playing for your Buckeye Leafs.
Well, we'll get to that. But he plays like 70 snaps, doesn't get a tackle, and everyone wants to bench him. And like to watch Tommy Eichenberg come out and get 17 tackles in a game. Yeah. Like that's a lot. In the second half, he was like shooting through, making plays. I'm like, you know what? Like, there's some limitations that he has. Like, that's real. That's real with just about every player. But, like, okay, let's put him in positions moving forward where we can see more of this. And there's going to be games, and not every game, where you're going to need him to be able to do that. And so it was nice to see. And, like, hey, we may have kind of, like, pseudo-checked the box. Like, this guy can actually come in and he can help stop the run. And hopefully get some more of those guys, get Steele coming along and everybody else. And then it'll be a good deal.
Cade Stover. 12, what'd you think?
I think it was a good game. You got to get credit where credit is due. I think Utah came out to play, and just from, when has Ohio State ever played in the Rose Bowl? And I would say that the opponent fans dominated.
They showed up. They were loud.
They showed up because they was so supportive of their football team out there and the things they've done all season. And I don't know, man. Bobby talking about just the game overall, and if DeMario would have gave a speech before the game, I would go take it a little bit further. I think if Utah quarterback don't get hurt and knock out that game, I think we may be sitting here talking about something differently. Do I think the outcome would change? I don't know, but I think it would have had some type of big-time game-winning drive by the Buckeyes to really to really seal the deal. But, man, you got to get credit where credit is due. Those guys came to play, and I'm happy that, the Buckeyes showed up in the second half because I did not anticipate, them giving up 10, 13 points in the second half after giving up 35 in the first.
Yeah. Pretty great adjustments.
Yeah, there were. But, just the way that game started off, you kind of felt a little bit like Michigan. Bob talked about just, you're counting. All right, we're down how many times? All right, forget one here. It's only one. That's easy. And it just didn't have a great feel to it. I think once that offense got rolling for us, though, I thought, and people talked about it all year long, and I hated it all year long. But CJ running the ball picks up a good first down on a scramble, and then we go on to score, and then we're scoring. I think that kind of, as a quarterback, and Cardale, you may agree or disagree, but making that kind of play when you don't really do that a ton, that'll pump you up a little bit, right? You get a little attitude going, then boom, then it's on, and your guys can kind of pick up on that in the huddle, and I think that maybe sparked a little bit right there to get things going because we needed to score a bunch of points, and then they just did what they did all year long for the most part and went on.
Well, and if people were wondering how much C.J. Stroud or the rest of those Buckeyes that were out there cared about it.
No, and 100%.
That's something you've talked about all year, Cardale. He's going to have to go out and make some of those plays and use his legs at times. It's not going to be design runs and zone reads, but when that yardage is there and the windows aren't able to throw, he's going to have to go force it.
Yeah,
and he didn't slide.
Because you go third and out again there, and they go down and get another one. It's 21-0. I mean, that's a big play to go and get that first down and do something that you're not used to doing, but you're helping that team out.
Yeah, for sure. I think this last 3 weeks has lit a different fire under C.J. Stroud's rear end just because of, with the way he finished in the Heisman.
How the whole Heisman went down.
Yeah, exactly.
The jokes and this and that and the other. Like, you knew he was going to come out with a little fire.
Thanks, Desmond. Yeah,
exactly. That, and then, just the bad taste I'm pretty sure left in the house with, the Michigan game and not having, another opportunity to play with your guys because clearly, the top guys are going to opt out of bowl games. It was not the playoffs. That's the new day and age we live in right now, which is totally understandable in my perspective. But I definitely feel like, he feel as if a lot of things were left undone, and it was his chance to really put a nice way to end 2021 season with go out there having a performance of 500+ yards.
Yeah, almost 600.
I mean, all the records that went down.
Yeah, golly.
Spence, what do you got?
Last week I said that if Ohio State got punched in the mouth, if they didn't respond well to it, then the first quarter of the Utah game would say a lot more than the third quarter of the Michigan game did because of the way that you don't really have a reason to be there other than just pride to play in the Rose Bowl. They got punched in the mouth, and they made the most of it.
Couple times.
Yeah, they got punched hard in the first half. Whether it's going down 14-0, that's a reality check there really quick against a good physical Utah team. Whether it's, you finally get some momentum and score a touchdown, and there goes Britton Covey down the sideline for a kick return that took all that momentum that you had and just
and Lathan Ransom's laying on the ground with a broken leg.
Absolutely. You get one of your guys is carted off the field. At the same time, Utah's getting those 7 points back, and that thing could have gotten sideways really quickly, and Utah could have ran away with the game and really embarrassed Ohio State, sent them into an offseason with a lot of questions, even more than we still have about this team after a win. But to rally around everybody and to rally around a guy like DeMario McCall at halftime, a guy who's
been there 7 years.
Yeah, who's
Is that it?
It
seems like longer than that.
6, but that's a long time.
I had to do a double check.
He played with Josh Berry.
I was like,
he played with you.
No,
he would. Are you sure?
Yeah, he didn't play. He was a year after us.
He came in at 16.
16.
Count him up, Bob.
Yeah, we all lost.
Yeah,
he did.
Missed you by a year.
Still,
He missed me by
that's a lot.
Cardale just hosted him on his visit.
I seen him on recruiting trips. That's enough right there.
But for the unsung guys to make plays on this defense, Tommy Eichenberg stepping up. He's not really unsung, but he's a guy who's been doubted all season. Cade Stover having, I think, 6 tackles when he was playing tight end 2 weeks ago. And then a guy like Teron Vincent, who was a
I agree with
5-star
that,
guy who really, hasn't made a lot of plays in his career that are worth talking about. To have the kind of game that he did in the middle, to keep Tavion Thomas in check. And
we needed him to have, because Haskell's not being there. I mean, you needed him to step up, and I think he did.
Those are the kind of guys where when your defense is really down bad and the veterans who don't normally step up start to make those plays or start to give those speeches, that's when you can really start to turn this thing around. And I think you saw the building blocks, even if some of these guys move on to the next level or leave the program, some of the building blocks that were set on New Year's Day are going to be felt in October and November next year.
I mean, the linebacker position, I think they only dress like 4 or 5 guys. I mean, that's all.
Counting Cade Stover, that's 5 scholarship players.
Yeah, so that's like warm bodies, everybody. And, EO hadn't played a lot as well. I mean, he'd been battling some COVID injuries and some different things. So like he's thrown back in there after being out for a couple weeks. I mean, it was really kind of an all hands on deck. People are like, this Cade Stover experiment. I'm like, it's not an experiment. It's literally like all they got.
It's desperation.
Like, you think I like driving around my car with a donut on it? No, I got to do it because I got a flat tire.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the only one that was available.
That's it.
Okay? I'm going to go get a full spare when I've got some time. But right now, I need to get where I'm going. And so that was kind of the mantra. And honestly, it worked out really well because this was a game. If they were playing a spread team, and maybe you can go with less linebackers, but Cade is kind of the perfect guy, and it's hard not playing defense all year. It's not like they go practice tackling with the tight ends,
Right?
It's like, hey, then you got to be out here tackling all of a sudden. It's something they spend a lot of time on. So, he has to come over and do that, but it's a perfect game from a standpoint of Cade is a big physical dude. He's not the fastest guy you're going to find, but they did a ton of YY, 2 tight ends over there. It's like, Cade, bro, you weigh 250. Get on these, just bang on these dudes. Set an edge, knock them back, and be that guy. Banging on dudes. That's what I told him. That's what it's all about there. And let them know. Let them feel you, sir. Let them feel you right there, and set a tempo for that offense. So
put that weight on them.
They were able to get that done. And it was just out of necessity, and it didn't look pretty in the kickoff return. Dude, you want to talk about punch to the gut. I had blocked that out because until Chives brought it up, because I wanted to forget, because at that point, okay, they can get a stop and go get a score and tie it up, and it's like, oh no. My wife's like, what, did he just run that back? I'm like, yeah, because usually you turn away. No one even returns kickoffs anymore.
Yeah. But people against us do, because we don't have a kicker that can put it in the end zone, apparently.
Well, they use that strategy, and more often than not, they succeed keeping teams inside the 25. But Utah, we saw that against Oregon.
He's a dangerous return guy.
Guy. Maybe just go.
At the end of the game, we're letting him just say, let's see if you can take another one back. Here we go.
Noah Ruggles can definitely get it there. And the fact that they kept continuing to kick it short, it wasn't windy in the Rose Bowl. I thought that was a strange choice. And then they even did it with 9 seconds left in the game. Like,
if anyone you're going to kick out of the end zone, this is it, right?
Put
it
anywhere.
Mind blowing.
When Ohio State gets back on offense after that kick return, you're like, okay, if this is a quick possession, then it might go really sideways. Well, it was a quick possession because it was a strike over the middle to Jackson Smith and Jigba, who, okay.
So good.
Hold on. We just went, I think, 10 minutes into this show without
even talking about him.
I mean, listen.
Well, I thought we were going to get him in the Buckeye Leafs here.
Yeah, we'll get him there.
Remarkable. I don't know if any of us have a word to say about him, because I couldn't think of a word at the end of the game to describe.
You know what my word is?
Describe what he did.
It's 2 words: Jameson Williams. Because I had to listen to everybody say, "How did you let this guy leave all year?" And I'm like, believe me, the guy that is going to play there was the guy that we saw finally when you cleared the dance floor for him. And nothing against Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson; they're great players. They're going to be first-round draft picks. And then you have this guy play, and you're like, well, okay, maybe you feel a little bit better about. He was going to be number 3, and James was going to be number 4, and they'd rotate and do some stuff, and he didn't want to share it. But Jackson, I mean, by displaying that, and even the last couple of games, he has played really, really well.
I understand. Different players, though. I think if Jameson would have stayed, he would have been more on an outside threat as Chris, because that's what he's really known for, taking the top off the defense. I think out of those 3 receivers at Ohio State, with pick your poison and what you want them to do. I think Jackson is the guy because of the things he's able to do. He just understands it. I watch him run routes. I watch him during the game and things like that, and you can tell he just understands space. Not saying these other guys don't,
right.
But he's that guy that's like a Keenan Allen that don't have the top end blazing speed and beat you on the deep ball. But if I catch a slant or two, I can take it to the house. Mm-hmm. He's that guy you can put on the outside. He's that guy you put on the inside, pick your poison. He's that type of guy. And Olave and Wilson is more of your traditional Olave take the top off the defense, great, clearly a first-round receiver, and Wilson can run any route in the playbook. But are you going to put those guys on the inside? Probably not. But Jackson is a guy you can put anywhere.
Well,
including out of the backfield in this game.
Yes.
A new wrinkle.
It's how they call a timeout. I saw him in the backfield. Timeout. I don't know what he's like.
Yeah, but something's gonna be bad.
Yeah, and he runs a freaking angle route on your linebacker. And
it's because if you don't have a corner in there, you're like, all right, well, it's zoned.
Yeah,
they were playing.
But even if that though, you put a corner. You're going to put a corner at middle linebacker.
It screws up your run fit.
Exactly.
They had a running back at cornerback. I mean that hell. Let's not forget that they had 3 of their top 4 cornerbacks out in this game.
They were shorthanded.
Now I'm not taking anything away from, but we should have went out and had.
Which made it weird the times that they were like, well, let's throw on Clark Phillips. So they already like.
Well, yeah, right. He's the one guy that's
played. Corner that was committed to Ohio State in a 5-star. I think we could talk about this game in particular heading into the offseason for about 10 hours, but we're going to try not to. We got a lot of other things to cover, including our Buckeye Leafs brought to you by Roosters. I believe we have mozzarella sticks for appetizer Tuesday this week.
The rumor.
That's the rumor.
Make sure you check
here, anyways. Yeah, but somewhere there will be $2 appetizers tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't want to
be something.
Looks like mozzarella sticks unless we eat them all today. Nicole texted me.
We're going to let her look at this mozzarella stick, by the way.
Well, that's a 2-for-1 right there.
Yeah,
the double.
Together,
taking it home
counts as one mozzarella stick.
2 sticks are better than 1.
I think this will help everybody because Nicole's taking a little bit of a surprise pick. Noah Ruggles was her Buckeye Leaf. I think probably just because she was really excited about the wave at the end.
That was a little cocky.
So a little bit of swagger. But Noah Ruggles with two field goals and the game winner. That's Nicole's Buckeye Leaf. She'll be back next Monday. She had a busy week leading that bowl trip giveaway that's now in the rearview mirror. I believe it went off with out at Hitch and a lot of success. So she earned a day off from us. She'll be back next week, Bob. You already gave 2 players, but do you have another Buckeye Leaf?
I mean, can I just resubmit?
Sure.
I mean, those guys, I just wanted to make sure that we got them in and gave them their ample time.
Sure.
Just because of, Court, he's been beat up, he's been hurt, and he's a heck of an athlete. And you look at him, how physically gifted he is. I mean, he's going to do some really good things. And I'm not a big believer in momentum from a team winning a bowl game carrying over to next season as far as an entire team. But I do believe in individual players because coaches can see that and all right, we've seen him do this in practice a little bit, but it's always a projection. Can they take it to the game? And so you got to see Court Williams do some things okay, well, there's going to be some space opening up. We need to find a way to integrate him into our defense. Let's start building things around him in the spring, what he does well. All right, Tommy Eichenberg, this is what you do well. We're going to find a way to put you in situations where you're able to have success because when we put you there, you did a pretty good job against some, certain situations. So those 2 guys, they get Buckeye Leaves. They played really well in the second half. I know there's a million guys on offense that we could give them all to with everything they've seen, but both of those dudes, younger guys, and one kind of criticized throughout the year for lack of production, another one who been waiting to see, who's been maligned by injury. Yeah. And so I love when they can finish the season feeling good and confident. And frankly, part of the thing on defense, you need some leaders, and I think those guys, when you play well like that, you can establish yourself as a leader and establish your voice going in the offseason.
I'm gonna have to go with, but while Nicola speaking about that field goal, I didn't like the field goal, by the way, and the time management leading up to it was horrible. But anyway, I didn't understand it at all. But anyway, my Buckeye Leaf has to go to, I'm going to say, Marvin Harrison Jr. because we knew that, it was going to be a heavy pass game. We knew that, clearly he had to focus on Jackson and things he had done to this point of the season. They still couldn't stop him. But when his number was called, he performed and he showed up. 6 catches, 3 touchdowns, 70, 80 yards, but making some big time catches in a situation like that where he didn't see much of playing time, but seeing as much as biggest stage of his career so far, and for him to go out there and have 3 touchdown catches, unbelievable. So I'm gonna go with Marvin.
CJ called him Route Man Marv.
Yeah.
And what's funny, man, and it's I trained with a guy, Donovan, and we spoke about this earlier this year. Donovan McNabb played with Marvin's dad in college. And he said his dad was the best route runner he ever seen. And at this point, when I was out there training with Donovan in April, I think the spring game had just happened or something. And he was like, man, he looked like his dad. The way
Except he's way bigger.
Yeah.
He said Marvin's not a big dude.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. And he said the way he run routes and stuff, he said, man, his dad. But that's pretty cool to hear. And clearly it's in his genes. But pretty cool to hear that his quarterback is already raving about his route running ability.
And a lot to look forward to.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. I mean, shoot, Mike said it. He think he got, including Jameson from last year, I think he got 7 first-round receivers in that room. And I think we saw 2 more, potentially 3, in the Rose Bowl.
Might want to drop off a bag at Brian Hartline's office.
Yeah, no doubt. Just send him a check and say, fill this out, please.
Yeah.
What would you like?
Yeah. Fill in a blank. Yeah. Fill in a blank,
fill
buddy.
this out and get back to us.
What do you need?
Let's see. I'm going to schlegel it up here a little.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah.
Here we
Jason,
go.
But it's
never
really
go
not. It's
schlegel
really
around.
not that many. You got to throw one out. You got to throw one out to CJ because what a game.
Yeah.
I mean, what 9 incompletions I think it was. 1 with being an interception. I mean, like incredible. Go out. Now we knew he should have had that kind of game going against a secondary that was depleted, but offense gave him enough. The line gave him time to throw the ball, go through his reads. He was remarkable. Then I'm going to go off the rails. Bob kind of already mentioned him. 35-6. Kind of watched the replay yesterday, and that second half, those guys kept popping out, a little bit here and there. Now, not maybe huge plays, but they were making plays. Yeah. And, in that 10-point half that we had in the second half, we had to have. So the defense stepped up. I think those were 2 guys that kind of helped along the way. And then Emeka Ibuka. I think it was over 150 yards returning yards. I mean, that's big time to get you out from inside your, your end zone and give that offense some breathing room.
He left like 40 on the shelf with a penalty too.
Yeah. So I think that's big to have. And we talked about their returner. We had a pretty good one ourselves, and excited to see what he will do moving forward as well with these young wideouts.
All right. Is that all?
Sorry. Yeah, that was all. It was just a mini. It was a mini schlegs.
Mini schlegs. All right.
I'm gonna give mine to whether it's Jackson, whether it's Marvin, even Julian Fleming, like the wide receiver room to come together.
Brian Hartline maybe.
And replace. Yeah. But he does so much, but he's not the one out there making those plays. And for these wide receivers to replace the production,
I think he'd like to be though.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If he could play in those joggers that only go like halfway down his calf, I think he would still be playing.
It's called style, Spence. Style.
But the guys for stepping up and replacing that production in the room that needed to be replaced. And it wasn't just Jackson. Everybody's going to point to what Jackson did, but Julian Fleming had a couple really nice catches. Emeka, the over-the-shoulder catch on the great read that CJ had to get the ball down the field. The pinpoint accuracy of CJ, but also the guys to catch it and the focus that comes with those over-the-shoulder or the back shoulder throws. And then, so I guess it's just the wide receiver room as a collective, but also, I do want to shout out, and he didn't play, but Chris Olave opts out of the game, can go anywhere in the country and train. He chose to stay for another week, train with his guys, lead them on the field. When they're coming off the field, I was seeing on TV, Chris is in there, you're talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is a leader, a guy who knows that if he breaks an ankle or tears an ACL in this game, his draft stock could plummet potentially because he's not going to get a workout for guys. So, kudos to him for opting out. But to opt out, but then also stay with the team, travel with the team, teach the team, and teach these young guys. That last week of training that Chris Olave gave to Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Ibuka, Jaden Ballard, those guys probably will never forget that. And to be able to take that training into the offseason, Chris Olave deserves a lot of credit for what he did. And I'm not going to blame Garrett Wilson or Haskell Garrett or Nicholas Petit-Frere for not being there, because you can go train anywhere that you want, and you've earned the right to be out of this game because you're good enough that you don't need to play. But for Chris to take that leadership mantle and to really do that, it says a lot about who Chris is.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's a great point. I remember hearing the reports and the rumors at first that, these guys are opting out. Like, I just seen a picture of him walking into practice.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. But for him to still be around those guys, and, I think it speaks to a point where, Bob can attest to this, Justin, when you have a guy that's hurt, especially on the NFL level, when the guy's hurt, you go out somewhere else and get service and train and treatment on other stuff. But when it's a true leader, a guy that's for his team, whatever he's doing, he's going to be around the facility as much as possible. And a guy that kind of reminds me of that, of JT Barrett, when, him and Braxton actually were hurt during that season, and how much Braxton was in our quarterback room still and meeting rooms and helped JT become that starter. And then, the things that he was able to do as a redshirt freshman, and then vice versa when JT get hurt and him still being around me. And he was a guy I always talked to right when I hit the sideline, where he could have been, somewhere else doing rehab in a booth or, but like I said, that just speaks to the leadership of these guys. I mean, going back to that season of 14, Braxton wasn't playing, but we playing up in Minnesota, probably the coldest day I ever been a part of my life. Only game I ever prayed not to get into. It was so cold. Seriously, but keep it close, Minnesota. They got out
and they did.
Tackle. Yeah, exactly. I think we ended up winning by 7 points. But to see this guy Braxton on the sideline, to continue to encourage and talk to JT about different looks and think about this and think about that, and he goes out to have the longest, slowest run in sports.
Which is probably what those young receivers take from Chris being there, more than just maybe showing them technique or this or that. Just, hey, man, this is what a real leader looks like. This is what we have to strive to be in this room, and this is how we get year after year after year of players coming through here who really understand what it's about, how to be great, and what it takes.
The sheer joy on Chris Olave's face after the game. I saw a couple different people had interviewed him and talked to him, and you see clips of him. He doesn't show a lot of emotion, but to be as happy as he was after the game, that he didn't even plan, but the confetti's raining down. That's a guy who needs a Rose Bowl ring. I know he didn't play, but I think that's the kind of guy who needs a ring.
He wanted to be around the Buckeyes the whole week, and he was one of the last people to leave the Rose Bowl stadium. He kept going back and forth outside the tunnel, just hugging people and coaches and other players. And he'd walk up to the bus, and then he'd come right back down. You could tell he didn't want it to be over, and that's why he was torn. He wasn't going to play all last week. He had already had his exit physical, before they left Columbus. That happened. I don't know where the storyline came from that he was thinking about playing. That was never an option for him. But he wanted to be there, and then he didn't want it to be over. That's a guy who loved and gave everything he had to Ohio State. Could he have played one more? Sure, but why would he? Didn't need to. My Buckeye Leaf, to wrap it up, since they're all very good choices, I'm going to throw one out to the unsung hero for me, which is Mitch Rossi.
Hey.
Part of the reason that Cade Stover was able to be surplus to demands and go play at linebacker is that Mitch Rossi could go out there and do all the blocking. They could throw it to him on that play action, and he showed a lot of intestinal fortitude to cut that back to the middle of the field, turn that into a 22-yard game.
Right there, boy.
I walked up to him afterwards. I said, "You're just crazy. You just love contact. You're not afraid of it. Fearless." That was a big play. Jeremy Ruckert played pretty well for his last game with Ohio State. Maybe you can lump in the whole tight end unit and Kevin Wilson's work with them. Stover, I asked him after the game, it's like, man, you just seem to love it there at linebacker. You going back? And he's like, I don't think so. You look at the way that group has been reshaped and the toughness they showed, you give them a lot of credit. And Mitch Rossi, Ohio State would very much like for him, I think, to use that COVID year and come back. Former walk-on has definitely made the most of his time at Ohio State. For now, that's going to be a wrap on what happened in the Rose Bowl. We've got a lot of other discussions about what was going on outside of it when we come back after this break on Lettermen Live. It's brought to you by Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint.
Roosters is one of the unique companies that we deal with. They're involved in everything we do, from our personal foundation to also the Cancer Research Fund. And that's from the Buckeye Cruise from Cancer to all the events leading up to the Buckeye Cruise.
They donate back to different organizations that are near and dear to their heart. And we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long, long time.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Precision engineering, rigorous attention to detail. A Bryant Evolution heating system is so well designed, it's as much of a joy to install as it is to use.
Good to go.
for the dealer nearest you. Visit Bryant.com.
All right, welcome back into the Lettermen Lounge, wrapping up the 2021 season. Hope everybody had a great New Year, a great Rose Bowl. And if you were watching on a second screen, you were probably curious about what the hell was happening with Marcus Williamson, who was not with the team last week, wasn't playing in the Rose Bowl, and had a lot of interesting commentary about what was happening for his now former teammates and a lot of other interesting accusations and his own experiences. We can't really say for sure what goes through these minds, and everyone is going to view things differently during their time in the program. The three of you know that better than anybody. It's not the same, but as you watched what happened and the timing of it and the message that he had, you guys are part of the brotherhood. What did you think on Saturday with that part of it separate from the game and happening at the same time?
I always find the irony when people who should be at the game are not at the game, and then they take to social media to talk about not even really what was happening at the game, but like the totality of their time and duration with Ohio State. Marcus Williamson, he's a Westerville kid. I've always had great, very positive interactions with him. I've enjoyed him. I mean, there's some things that he could have done to improve as a player. But like the accusations he had about, the exploit. Okay, we can get into the conversation about our players, taking advantage of as far as their worth and everything. And right now, the irony is, like, the NIL stuff has just passed, and we're talking about guys making all this money. Yeah. And so it's started to change. Like, if beforehand, that may have been different. Yeah. But then, the accusations of race and stuff with Urban and all these different things. And, Cardale played for Urban. There's a bunch of other guys that did. I've heard things that Urban is a jerk, but he always discriminated against everyone equally.
Yeah, equally, yes.
I never once saw him talk differently to anybody.
Equal opportunity hater.
Listen, his hate, his demeanor, his coaching style don't have a preference.
No.
If you're a person that's adding or it's not adding value to the program,
to him trying to win football games, to the program,
exactly, he's going to hate you just as much as anyone else. And I think hate is a strong word.
Hate's not the word. He's going to treat you the same.
Yeah, he's going to treat you.
You're not even in his tunnel. I didn't play for the guy, but just being around him a little bit, I could tell, like, you're out here if you can't help him win a football game.
Exactly. He's going to treat you the exact same way. Because at the end of the day, but I think with players in this day and age now, and I said this about Urban's coaching style, and all the reports was coming out about the Jacksonville fire and all this other stuff. I said his coaching style, the reason why I think he'd never coach again, especially in college football, and he don't want to, is because of his coaching style. The day and age has changed. Yep. Mm-hmm. These kids cannot, and these men cannot be pushed to their limits as they used to, clearly, when you guys played. And I think I was the last part of that culture and that environment of
being coached hard.
Exactly.
That's how I say it.
And really, if it's I want to say a verbal abuse, but a verbal shellacking, to a point where you questioning, do you really want to do this? Without saying, oh, this guy hates me. Right. He's racist. Oh, what is it? It's not me. It's him. It's so much of they look at an excuse for why something's not going their way. And it's usually blaming someone else. And I think all the stuff that came out, man, I can't speak for his experiences through Ohio State, but I can speak for his interactions with maybe a particular coach card as far as Coach Meyer. A racist bone in his body, I don't know. I surely didn't see. Yeah. Because I was one of the guys that put a few extra gray hairs and maybe some strain on that heart of his. And I know a couple other guys of different skin color did the same. And we both in Dom Patrol or running extra lap saying, screw that guy, sharing stories. I can't stand him.
Both on the climber.
Yeah, I hate him. He hate me. Oh, he hate you too. Yeah.
I think you and Jake Stoneburner have the same situation.
Remind me of the editing process with this.
Right. I'm just saying, and some of the things that, he said that Coach Meyer did or said, I'm going to ruin your life and all this other stuff. Man, dude, clearly he's talking about on the football field. Clearly he's talking about he's going to make things harder for you. You think this guy, if you had a positive drug test, he's going to go out and tell every
pat you on the back
coach,
say, hey, good job.
But you think he gonna tell every corporate America don't hire this guy? Back in 17, he had a positive drug test. Like, I think guys take it like when they think their coach is coaching them too hard, or maybe a coach really don't like a player because players don't like coaches. You think he don't like you as a person, or you think he won't help you as a person, or you think he feels some way you as a person. Because this is how I always know if a coach really, don't like a player. You ask about that player, he said, well, he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, what you think about? Oh, he's a good dude, man. He get good grades.
He helps the GPA.
Yeah, he's
tremendous family.
Great guy off the field, and not a good family, a great family.
Yeah,
Elite
exactly.
family.
I'm talking about can he play on the field? Well, he can play in life, but. It's just, I don't know, man. Like I said, I can't speak for the kid experiences at Ohio State, but I know you guys can attest this, and 99.999% of the guys I talked to the last few days can attest this too. It wasn't like that. I mean, our experience was
for your experience.
And this isn't. None of this is meant to diminish Marcus Williamson's feelings about it, and he said it, and you can take it seriously. And I'm not trying to discredit that part of it anyway. Just the presentation of it, and then the really vocal sort of response to that by not just you, Cardale, but so many other people who were in the room at that same time, and then factoring in, well, you're doing this in the middle of the Rose Bowl. We know that after 4 games, Marcus Williamson is one of those people who had a foot out the door. He talked about this publicly when he was ready to give up on this season and wanted to be a great team leader and come back and be with the brothers, and he played pretty well after that. But you're not with the team at that point. There's reasons for that. And then to kind of hijack the moment after everything you had said in September about the decision to be selfless. Like, that was the message, and to give to the rest of those guys and to play really hard. Like, that's, I think, what muddies the message for me. And again, that's not to – he can say what he feels, and I will take it seriously 100%. But I struggle with it.
There's a time and a place to do something like that, right?
When
your brothers are out on the field playing a game where nobody else is seeing what's going on or can defend themselves type thing isn't the time for me. When I first saw it, and maybe nobody else thought of this, but we had a guy walk off in the middle of a game this year. It's like we have a guy doing this in the middle, tweeting in the middle of a game this year. We have a guy leaving, like, what? I don't know if it's just this new era of college football or with the portal, just knowing they have opportunities to go other places or whatnot. But it's 2 instances like that in one season for a program like Ohio State. I feel like it doesn't usually happen.
I think part of it, too, is it is a little bit of a new era. And that's why recruiting now is so incredibly important. And it's not just the physical skill set of what guys bring. It's the ability of, like, to persevere through, like, a little bit of adversity. I mean, everybody in their career, like, you doubt a little bit, and anyone will tell you they don't, I think is crazy. But you get to a place like Ohio State, and it's like, man, these coaches are really hard on me. The guys are really good. Like, I mean, this isn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And so you have to make that decision. Like, all right, well, let's get back to the drawing board and let's work a little harder and try to figure out and, like, solving it, have the answers to these problems. And so,
but what you just said right there is the problem, though. What's easier for me to go to the drawing board, look in the mirror, figure it out self, or blame everybody you else, or transfer portal?
Yeah,
which this is not going to transfer portal because I'm all for the portal and things like that. But I think it has eliminated some of the toughness factor of these coaches can be on these players, and that gives these players an easy cop out to. He's yelling at me for 2 days straight. Let me go see what my other options.
I guess
Ohio State goes for a cornerback in the portal. Well, we can't bring him in because we might get these guys.
Well, some of it is bringing in the right guys. But I look at what Hartline.
Don't bring up Ricks again.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's it's that type of thought process though.
Well, part of it is depending if you're bringing in a dude who might not be a high quality individual, do you want him around younger players?
100%.
It's like, what are we incentivizing here? We tell people that working hard matters and doing the right things. Well, if you've done all the right things and you're a good young player, let's give you your shot. And I think that's what the room that you can say does this the best, maybe the best in the country, is bringing in highly competitive guys and then getting them to push each other and not being salty and surly, maybe when they're not the dude, but with what Brian Hartline has done. I mean, like, all those guys, like, you can watch them practice, like, they should all be on the field, and they know they should be on the field, and he doesn't like lie to them and say, well, you shouldn't. The reason why you're not is because this guy might just be a little bit better than you. We'll keep working. I'll get you to where you need to be, but you have to have that relationship, that trust, and you have to bring in guys who aren't so self-centered and egotistical. It's like, well, if it's not happening on my timeline, then it's not good enough for me. Even if your timeline in your head, because everybody always thinks they're better than what they are.
Right. Exactly.
And so, like, you always have some deficiencies. And as good as Jackson is, I guarantee you talk to him like, well, I can still work on this, this, and this.
And I know these guys are pushing too, so I got to keep pushing to be where I want to stay on top.
Yeah, you guys make a great point, and I talked to a few of those guys in that room. I'm not going to bring up our personal conversations, but that's what they say. Earlier in the year, and I could just tell about one of these guys' demeanor or something like, I went to his house after a game, like, dude, you okay?
Yeah.
Don't let this discoururage you.
Took me 4 years to get on the field.
Jesus Christ. Hit me where it hurt. I was like, continue to work on you. And like, that's that mindset I'm going to take.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys like, oh, I ain't playing. These good to me. I'm out of here. And
they view the reason why they're not playing as someone else's fault, which a lot of times is like, hey, you need to get better at this.
That's what I'm saying. That's the easy way out to blame someone else. They don't like me. He recruited past me and all this other stuff. I'm like, dude, I went to a situation I wasn't this guy's recruit, period.
Yeah.
And still try to fight and claw my way on the field.
Yep.
JC, I did think about Kevon Pope a little bit when Williamson was sending tweets and stuff.
Yeah.
But the thing that I thought about it even when the Pope thing happened, Kevon Pope was not recruited as a Ryan Day player. He was recruited under Urban Meyer. Marcus Williamson, the same way, was recruited under Urban Meyer, Dallas Gant under Urban Meyer, not Ryan Day. The transition seemed so seamless 3 years ago from Urban Meyer to Ryan Day. I think with the COVID year, it kind of prolonged some of these
things that might have happened.
I also think there are some guys who that transition was not easy for, and it might just start to be bubbling up. Maybe not. Maybe that's a little off base. But the guys that you've seen, Dallas Gant, Kevon Pope, of course, a very public exit. Marcus Williamson now having a very public exit. Those were not Ryan Day guys, and it's not that Ryan Day doesn't like them. It's not that the current coaching staff didn't like them, but that transition is a longer transition because of the COVID year. Some things just might not have worked out for these guys who didn't come to play for Ryan Day and didn't come to play for this coaching staff, but did, and then realized exactly how it was going to be in a non-COVID year. And just sometimes it just doesn't work out. And so
you're right. Sometimes it don't work out. That don't mean you start calling the program racist.
No. I'm not saying that at all. I just think that the transition may not have been as easy for all the guys as it seemed for Urban Meyer, winning a Rose Bowl, to Ryan Day immediately coming in and picking up the mantle. Like it wasn't as easy for everyone as it was for
as it appeared outside.
Yeah.
It just
there's a couple rocky things in there that happen when you go from you think you're coming in to play for Urban Meyer.
Well, Austin told me rocky things only happen at Rocky Top, so we're in Columbus.
They
and that's
primarily happen there. But I think that what Spencer's bringing up is an interesting point, because this is now off season to get it ready for year 4, and there's a push-pull where Ryan Day had said from the start, hey, the foundation is in place here. You have Mickey Marotti, you have Mark Pantoni, you have all these things that Urban built, and the machine works. But Ryan Day didn't just get the keys and say, hey, be Urban. And he's got to put his own stamp on it. And
nobody wants that.
That's right. I mean, that goes to the players, that goes to the coaching staff. I think you're looking at that, and I've had conversations with people. Well, could Chris Ash be a candidate for Ohio State as a defensive coordinator? Well, let's not just keep going back into the past if you're Ohio State, and let Ryan Day put his influence and put his mark on that program. And I think he is doing that, and you'll see that. I think Jim Knowles started on Sunday. He's going in. That's a swap there with Matt Barnes going out.
Where's Barnes going?
Memphis. DC.
We'll see. There's a lot of conversation about a change with the offensive line coach, and Greg Studrawas had health issues that he's had to deal with. We'll see exactly what transpires in this week ahead. But this offseason, again, you're talking about these guys, Pope and Gant and Marcus Williamson, they're gone, okay? That's going to continue to keep happening, where all the players that will be in there will have been brought in by Ryan Day at the top, or increasingly with the coaching staff that is hired and handpicked by him, and that's just part of it. This was an interesting nothing, as we say, went relatively smoothly. They won a bunch of games, but for Ryan Day to take control, that wasn't going to happen overnight, and that wasn't going to be easy for everybody. Coaches, players, everybody. That's that's tough. Like Ryan Day has to assert his influence, and if players didn't enjoy it in the end, I'm certainly going to listen to their experiences.
Yeah, it's weird, man, because earlier about 2 weeks ago, I did an interview and I was talking about, different things, and one of the things came up was Coach Meyer and my time at Ohio State.
Yeah.
It's like, man, everybody, for the most part, everybody know that me and Coach Meyer didn't have a great relationship at Ohio State, by design, though. And when I say that, people eyes get big. They think I'm about to drop some dirt. What happened? What happened? Even though things did happen bumpy between me and him and the coaching staff, whatever, but that's between us, and it wasn't nothing as I questioned their love for me or wanted me to be better. I just say by design, because he put so much emphasis on his position coaches to have those relationships. And then I say, Coach Meyer ruined my college experience. Now everybody eyes get big. What did he say? What did he say? What did he do? What did he do? And I said, and I took the ownership of it, being able to look back and see what type of coach he was and the style that he was bringing. I was recruited by a guy named Jim Tressel. You guys play for him. And his coaching style, his way he ran his program was completely different from Urban Meyer, night and day. And that was just me from being a recruiting trips and seeing what type of guy, seeing what type of person I wanted to play for. Now imagine me walking into that mindset and then getting it's changed over one day, changed over one night because you got a new coach. Mm-hmm. And everything that I loved about Ohio State, everything was mainly because of this football program and what things Coach Tressel was doing, not because of Urban Meyer. So I'm walking in here with this one mindset, okay, I think things are going to be the same, and boom, they're completely different. I said that would ruin it for me personally in the beginning. And I said I wasn't mature enough to really adapt to buy into what he was selling at the time because I had my mind made up on how things are going to be for the next 4 or 5 years of my career with this guy, this coaching staff that I grew to love. Right? I said that's what ruined it for me in the beginning. And
you and Nick Siciliano.
Yeah. And his quads, and his freaking quad. Right? So
poor Nick Siciliano.
So that was
So
that was my experience with the whole thing with Ohio State. I said he ruined my experience, but for a guy like Marcus and whatever messed up his experience or whatever he viewed as things didn't go his way, how about reflect and take ownership on why didn't they? Because it was. I bet you was having a lot of fun at Ohio State when you were playing a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now things changed because of the coaching, like you said, with Ryan Day transition or
or whatever
maybe,
it could be.
Yeah, whatever it may be.
Multitude of things.
Yeah, exactly. Well, take ownership of that.
That tough love mantra doesn't translate to everyone.
No,
that's
of course not.
That's the
Of course
only.
not.
That's the only
Of course
thing
not.
that I guess
So-
I'm trying to make a point of. Is like Urban Meyer. I don't think you played for him. Was not the tough love type of guy. Like he's Ryan Day wants his office open all the time. He wants to go from Urban Meyer.
Listen. If you're a backup player, you come and talk to his office. Good luck. What are you doing in here?
You're getting bounced. You're not getting past the bounce.
Who you play for? West
Stamp, get this guy out of
Do we
here.
have a recruiting? Do we have a recruiting trip today?
Some
Hey, you look like you could play football. Yeah. You look like you might be a player.
Yeah, hey, how you doing, Coach Meyer? Look like you can play. Yeah,
You got your film on you?
Coach, I've been here 3 years.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, apparently I was wrong.
Literally, I was wrong. Oh, God. That's a great line. Literally, I was wrong.
Who is this guy, Cardale?
right,
Oh,
exactly.
how's your mom doing, Cardale?
Exactly.
So it's that.
Jay-Z's
kind of
never
thing.
experienced that with Urban.
No. Urban doesn't know my name.
So I just think that transition to the tough love, the guys that they relied on to be veterans this year were not, brought into the culture as the tough love Ryan Day guys. And so to rely on them to be the veterans this year, especially on the defensive side of the ball,
Well, there was a lot going on in the middle of the year, beginning of the year defensively. I mean, geez, we had coaching changes. We had all kinds of rotating in and out. Guys, I mean, it was nuts. So
Yeah. All right.
a lot
Well,
goes into it.
a lot does, and a lot will go into the year 2022. We are ready for it. It's here. Happy New Year to everybody. Ohio State is the Rose Bowl champion, and there's a lot going on. We're going to get into it. We're not going anywhere as Roosters continues to let us hang out in the Lettermen Lounge for Lettermen Live. Appreciate Jay-Z, Cardale, Bobby, and Spencer for hanging out. I am Austin Ward. Thanks for joining us and watching. We'll see you next week at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint.